program 2 will be using the Netbeans IDE. Hopefully you've got it installed. It should have been a pretty easy install. First, I want to comment about IDE. That stands for Integrated Development Environment. So within this environment, you will be able to write your source code, organize your files. All your files will be easily accessed over in the panel to the left. You will also be able to compile here, and you'll be able to output here. Quite the contrast from last week, in which you were going back and forth between your text editor and the command line window to get your program running. So program 2 is going to be another version of Hello World. Your program for this week will be a little different than what I am writing here today. To get started, you're going to create a project. On the toolbar, you can click on this or File, New Project. The New Project dialog box, you will see quite a few categories. For us, you're going to choose Java with Ant and come over here and choose Java Application. A default project name will be here, but you should create a project name that makes sense to you. Be aware of where it's saved at. I believe that there's a Netbeans folder that's created in your Documents folder. Automatically, it's going to want to save there. I've already changed the location, so all my files will now try to save here. And then down below, you do want to create the main class. And what this is going to do is create a class with the same name as the project, and also automatically put the main method inside of that class. So all of these terms should be familiar from last week. Click Finish, and it will take a minute and generate your source code. And here is my source code with a couple of panes open to the left. The source code is open to the right. So it's already automatically created my class with my curly braces. It's created my main method with some curly braces. Notice that Netbeans will be putting comments in gray instead of green. This is a multi-line comment. And here we have a single line comment. So some of these comments you really don't know. I'm going to come through and remove them. It looks like it grabbed my name here, so let me fix that. You can add generally your program comments up here. Okay, you won't need these comments. And here's a single line comment where it's telling you within here you're going to start adding all your statements that belong in main. Let's look over to the left pane, and you've got your Projects tab, a Files tab, a Services tab. Let's go back to the Projects tab. We haven't really done that much, but there's a lot of hierarchy going on already. But the only thing that really exists is this folder in this project. Is this file in this project. Down below is a class view. We will be talking more about classes. We actually started talking a little bit about classes today. It's actually giving me a little bit of help about all these objects within my Hello Netbeans class. Back over to the right pane, you will see that you have a source. You also have a history. So I can see different versions of my source code in the history. Sometimes what might happen is you modify your source code and then you realize that didn't work. You're trying to get something to work. It didn't work. And so you can revert back to your old source code here in that history pane. Let's go ahead and add our statement, which is just going to be a hello world. It's very similar to what we did last week, and that began with the system, object, out. And notice as I'm typing a couple of things. First of all, the red squiggly line in that little button here to the left is telling me, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. And of course it doesn't work. I'm not done. Secondly, as I type, up jumps this panel that's telling me all the classes I can use here and the arguments. We had discussed in this week's reading what an argument or a parameter was. So the arguments that you can use with each of these methods. So I chose the string argument, and I'm going to replace X with the string literal, hello, Netbeans. Can't forget the semicolon. Netbeans put it in for me automatically, and I'm doing really well with my curly braces. Within Netbeans, you can compile and execute. Sometimes you may just want to compile. If you only want to compile, that's called a build. You can come to Run and build the project or use F11, and that's going to compile your project. And before I do that, I want to open the output window. And in the output window, you can see that it's told me that, yeah, you compiled it fine. There's Run here, F6. Another way to run it is to hit the arrow. So I hope you like Netbeans. If you don't like using Netbeans, after this week, you have a choice. You can do your projects either in Netbeans or in the text editor. One last thing I want to mention about your project is that it creates a folder for you where you save your project at. And within this folder, quite a few other folders and files. SRC is your source code, another folder, and there's your Java file that you could open up in any text editor, but NetBeans works well too. When you submit your assignment, what I want to see you do is find the folder for the project and zip it up. So you can right mouse click on it with it selected and choose Send to and compress zipped folder, and that will compress your folder. So I now have the original folder and a zipped file with a zip extension. This will be what I want you to submit for your assignment.